Third hour of coverage on Hurricane Harvey, which is rapidly intensifying in the Gulf of Mexico on approach to Texas. My name's Nathan Foy, but the real star of tonight's production and beyond is not our team, it's the storm, and of course we will be keeping you on top of everything that develops with Harvey. At the top of the hour, as you saw on the latest information, Force 13's satellite operations, we've put the storm up to 90 miles per hour. It's not official. The official number is still 85 miles per hour from the National Hurricane Center, but they will be doing an update in an hour, and we expect that it will become a Category 2 later tonight, the way it's developing right now. We'll probably get some recon data to back us up on that in this hour, we would hope. If not, then we'll be still guessing. But as you can see, the eye continues to emerge, and the storm is now less than 250 miles from Brownsville, Texas. I'm joined by the Skype team taking us through this hour: David, Marcel, Cesar, Craig and Orlando. Would anyone like to go first? If not, we'll start with David.
I cited some information, Cat 3, Cat 4 tomorrow.
Is the possibility, not for definite. The National Hurricane Center's forecast saying that it will get to 125 miles per hour, which I think is just crazy if it verifies.
Guys, I don't know if you want to see, I'm watching right now the Ghost 16 of the recent hour-and-a-half frames of Harvey, and it's clearing, showing the ice getting more defined. I don't know if you want to see it, or
yes,
if I can screen share it. Okay, hang on a second.
Before you do that, I just want to read out the, just in case anyone new has joined us, what the situation is right now. A storm surge warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to High Island, Texas. A storm surge watch is in effect for south of Port Mansfield, Texas to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane warning is in effect for Port Mansfield to Matagorda, Texas. A tropical storm warning is in effect for north of Matagorda to High Island, Texas, south of Port Mansfield, Texas to the mouth of the Rio Grande. A hurricane watch is in effect for the same area. A tropical storm watch is in effect for south of the mouth of the Rio Grande to Boca de Raton, Mexico. The wind probabilities right now for places in Texas are as follows. The first number I'll read is the chances of tropical storm force winds. The second number I'll read is the chance of hurricane force winds. Brownsville, Texas 71-14. Harlingen, Texas 73-13. McAllen, Texas 61-5. Corpus Christi 95-52. Rockport 99-69. Port O'Connor the same. Matagorda, Texas 97-51. High Island 66-9. Freeport 92-29. San Antonio 74-11. Austin 72-8. Houston 81-11. Galveston 79-15. And Port Arthur 51-5. Cesar, go ahead.
Yeah, I have right now in front of me the latest imagery of Harvey. Here it is. You can see there in the last frames how the eye is getting more organized.
If it doesn't sap your internet connection, that is. So we're struggling to get it at the moment.
Sounds like you're going through a tornado.
Oh dear.
Outflow of the storm is already
There it is.
over the coast of Texas and parts of the state of Tamaulipas.
Yeah.
So this is a really concerning situation. It's evident how quick that's going. Well, these images about how Harvey is looking, just it's amazing in the term that how quickly it's intensifying and how
Yeah.
big danger is going to represent. Someone wants to go ahead?
Yeah, we get the gist of
People
that. Says, "Oh, we're struggling with your signal there. It seems to not be able to cope with the imagery and you talking at the same time." But here is the close-up on what Harvey's been doing on the 1-minute imagery from GOES 16, and as you can see, the eye continues to come out with every frame, and just in those last few frames there, the last few minutes, this whole loop consists of around 40 minutes only. So you can see in the last 10 minutes or so, just to the north there, some higher cloud tops appearing and another little blow up on the northern side of the eye. Questions, we will take them. Will Harvey weaken right before landfall? Possibly. I think that's quite likely. The National Hurricane Center's forecast had 120, in fact it's better to show you, 125 mile-an-hour winds. So you take a look at this image here on the left hand side showing the National Hurricane Center's forecast graphic, the last one they did 2 hours ago. By the second major dot there, it's 125 miles an hour according to the National Hurricane Center, and then it moves inland to the third M dot, which is just after landfall, by which point they say it's 115. Whichever way you look at it, it looks like it's going to be a category 3 landfall, at least according to the National Hurricane Center, and that is pretty scary in itself. But let's not forget that the initial problem that we were forecasting for the storm was not the winds, but now we are, but the flooding. And don't forget, those aren't the only things. We're now looking at a storm surge because this storm's intensifying maybe 10 feet in some places, and of course the rainfall of possibly up to 30 inches in some places, and rip currents and possibly tornadoes.
Yeah, that's right. Just remembering the potential of tornadoes that a hurricane can span. Just an example of Hurricane Ivan, I think it's pronounced like that.
Yeah.
Ivan of 2000.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm just going to walk away from the studio for a few moments. I've been here for over 2.5 hours already. I'll be back shortly. In the meantime, how about you discuss what the chances, what you guys think this storm's peak intensity will reach?
Well, according to the official information, the peak intensity of Harvey is predicted to be 125 miles per hour. That is a Category 3 storm, making landfall at that intensity. But it has a lot of potential to be even worse, and of course possibly strike the state as a Category 4 hurricane. There are some questions about if Harvey could reach Category 5 status. Honestly, in my point of view, I don't think so, but the chances are there because the rate of how Harvey is intensifying is pretty impressive, I must say. But I see that a situation that is unlikely to occur. I hope that that don't reach Category 5 status, of course. But unfortunately, always the chances are there, and the conditions ahead of Harvey are pretty good to keep intensifying as it has been doing in the last few hours. I don't know who else is with me who wants to comment or show us more information, imagery, even model data of Harvey.
I'm trying. Oh, Jesus.
Be careful.
Yeah, God.
Well,
Try not to die on stream.
I know that the chances of
Let's go to Orlando because Craig is dying over there.
I'll die quietly.
Yeah.
well, I was saying that I know the chances are there for a Category 5, but I think the worst case scenario would be a mid-grade Category 4 or even high grade, but even then that's still questionable. But
Still significant to say the least.
But if it continues this pressure dropping, which most likely it will most likely be a Cat 3 or Cat 4 sometime tomorrow.
If it keeps up this intensification rate of it dropping the air pressure literally like a rock, it could easily be Category 3. When looking at the latest GO 16 imagery and the strong convection burst, this is probably it starting to strengthen its eye wall and start to wrap around some pretty decent cloud tops around the eye wall to help it intensify. But that eye wall, looking at that in the last few frames, that eye wall and that eye itself is getting clearer and is looking like a stadium effect is already appearing,
Really?
which is not good. Because that does signify that this thing could be ready to become a major at any time if this eye does get cleared out.
Well, not sure about major just yet.
Maybe not
Well,
yet.
first let's get through Cat 2 first.
But it's regardless of it, it's looking, the storm itself is looking really good. But for land cases, it's not looking good. RI looks to be still well underway and continuing. This.
Oh my!
I'll tell you,
Hey, have you? Now this must be in reference because I've just come back, and in the last few minutes, take a look at this imagery. People who are watching the stream right now able to see what is going on with the eye, and it seems to be deepening rapidly and moving west-northwest by the looks of things.
Yeah, rapid deepening looks to be a thing now.
Craig,
so
are you looking? Can you see this on the visible on our stream right now? I encourage everyone
to the live stream right now. Oh my god!
You see that? That is crazy.
I just noticed something.
Yeah, that eye
interesting.
is rapidly getting clearer.
No doubt as to where it is now, but movement appears to be west-northwest, don't you think?
Let's have a look at recon. I know Orlando's trying to see it.
Says 978.
Right.
978. Well,
it said 977 earlier, so I'd be surprised if it's weakened.
Well, there are some people saying that it's possibly a halt of the strengthening, but I highly doubt it because it gets more defined. And I mean, Harvey's of course is getting more organized, defined, quick, and of course is showing any sign of rapid intensification. Doesn't mean that because the pressure is not dropping, the storm halted to intensify. Remember that the pressure doesn't always represent how intense is the storm.
I don't suppose anyone's got an infrared loop right now.
Let me check.
None of which is up to date with GO 16 30-second.
Yeah, of course.
I'll
see if I'll see if I can go and get one. In the meantime, I don't know what you guys want to talk about right now. Maybe discussing its effects in Texas. I wonder whether you could show us some rain accumulation charts on the models, Craig.
Oh, rain accumulation. Let me get them up.
I think that would be quite interesting for people as we did last time.
Yes. Let's get them up once everything else loads, which would be extremely nice. Because well, so recon has continued to find strong hurricane force winds. That in itself is still alarming. But to be honest, with the pressure rising 1 millibar, doesn't mean it's stopped intensifying, because the air pressure could still stay the same, but the wind speeds increase drastically. Maybe not really drastically, but it could still go up to say 100 mile an hour plus. But then pressure would then be soon to follow of it going down rapidly. So let's see if I can get the rain accumulations up, which if things could speed up would be extremely nice. See, this is the point when you start looking at things, and now Skype has just started to be annoying and freeze. Skype, I know you are useless in every shape and form. Oh, there we go.
All right. In the meantime, okay. Whilst we're just waiting for that, I do have some infrared imagery showing up now. This is just a quick 30-minute loop, the last 30 minutes of Harvey, and you can see how it's been looking on the infrared there. Let's see if we get a more centralized view. There it is. So this is how it's been shaping up in the last 30 minutes on the infrared imagery, which can often show deficiencies that visible imagery can't. Now you can see even more clearly that on the western side is where all the convection is. The northeastern side is pretty well, ragged to say the least, but poor, and getting poorer by the looks of things in those late images. Though again, you can see along the northern side there that flare up just starting. Now that imagery is not as recent as the visible imagery we've been looking at, so it's a little bit more out of date, and you just about see the beginning of that flare up that went around the western side of the eye that you could see on the visible. Anyway, let's go to Craig's imagery.
Yeah, so here's the GFS is total accumulated precipitation. So here you can see Harvey's already producing a lot of rain. As you'd expect, this is a hurricane by now. You can see all that rain, mainly based on the eastern side, but there you can see that's a very well-defined eye that they are expecting, as they are expecting a very strong Category 4 with strong rain bands.
Wow.
And there you can see the rain really ramps up when it gets up to landfall, and the rain just expands. So here you can see, look at all that rain. Now, that's
just ridiculous.
Good. And then you can see the remnants of Harvey just going up the states around about here as it comes northwest. That should be at the end of the model run. Yes, I am. So that is a hell of a lot of rain in a very short space of time, especially with stalling in that and included in that. So that in itself is far from good. It's could produce extreme flooding.
Now though that model run was probably implying about 30 inches plus in some areas. Obviously the scale only goes up to 24 and it goes off the charts.
Yes, and it's the same here with the CMC. They're expecting the exact same thing, but not in a bigger area. But pretty much.
And that is let's think about it in concrete terms here. That is a large area that will be experiencing 2 feet of rain
within less than 24 hours or so. That in itself is alarming. Yeah, and literally that in itself is alarming. To see that we could be dealing with these areas underwater for quite a long time until the rain. Well, you've got your storm surge that's going to probably cause flooding, and then you've got your rainfall that's going to cause even more flooding, which basically just rubs insult to injury. This flooding is now looking like a major concern, as it always has, but wind speeds are also looking like they are going to be a major issue.
On that visible imagery, Craig, which is ever changing, you can again see that flaring up of the eye wall on the western side, and it's continuing to curl around towards the south now. What we're really looking for, though, is for it to happen on the northeastern side, because that is the weakest part of the storm. No good at all happening on the western half of the storm, which is the strongest side. It's got to happen in the northeast to consolidate its position.
Yeah, and it's probably going to start wrapping around because it is pretty much at the southern edge of the eye wall. So I would not surprise me if that does wrap right round the entire eye, because looks like it's got every intention.
I just wasn't as impressed as what I saw on infrared. Is the only thing.
Well, how far behind was the infrared?
Oh, only about half an hour.
I have infrared imagery, but last frame is of 1945 Zulu.
And
Probably
this
similar
is
to what we were looking at earlier. But go ahead if you're able.
Yes, I'm able to show it, but maybe something out of date.
23. Yeah, so
Okay,
the strong
let me-
convection is at the northern side of the eye wall, and then come around. Yeah, so this looks like it's going to try and wrap around very cool cloud tops. So this thing,
And
well,
here it is, the last 5 hours of Harvey and its improvement in the infrared satellite imagery. It doesn't look that good like the visible imagery show us.
Could you possibly make that go a little bit slower?
Yes, something like that, or more slow.
No, just that should do fine. Again,
Alright.
you can see that's fine. You see the latest imagery there. It sort of looks sort of squashed vertically.
But
And as you can see, we're
looks
looking
strong to
for
an eye.
what you could see initially in the second to last frame there, or the third last frame. There's a red area there in the northeastern side which denotes the colder cloud tops. They faded away in those last 2 frames. And the rest of them as a whole, actually, because the eye is coming out. Now that suggests that the storm is probably not yet a Category 2. And it's probably sticking at around high-end Category 1. We said 90 miles an hour at the top of the hour. That's not official. It's 85 miles an hour according to the officials, and they will update in about half an hour's time. So do stay tuned for that. I don't think... Well, they could have some new information. They might extend some warnings because it isn't a full update that they will be doing at 5 PM Eastern. But last up... And obviously they'll issue a new forecast cone as well. So that will of course get interesting, because the last time they predicted 125 mile an hour peak, and we'll have the news as soon as it breaks. But Cesar,
Right,
what are
and
your thoughts of what that's showing there?
I'm trying to figuring out how this thing will develop as well, because the cloud tops are not that cold actually, but -70 it's kind of good temperature for a strong storm. Of course Harvey needs to get more organization to keep improving its intensification. That part in the northeast of Harvey is quite concerning, because it's actually I think you said that before, Nathan, that is practically displaced out of the storm and able to discharge a lot of rain from I think around these zones between Texas and Louisiana border, and so practically this means the effects will be even more. It will extend more than the warning map says to us. But I don't know. Harvey right now, in my opinion, is doing good by intensification. Doing good in its rate of intensification. But of course, it's a really bad thing for the people that live in Texas and around.
Yes. David, I don't know if you've got any news for us regarding general news and evacuations, most importantly. He's there somewhere. Sounds like you got a bad signal there, but I gather you said no at the moment. Do look for us and see if we've got anything to tell anyone. In the meantime, there's the picture of everyone, and we'll get back to the latest visible imagery shortly. If you've not seen the track map and the forecast rainfall, here they are. And you can see that the National Hurricane Center predicts that Harvey will reach wind speeds of 125 miles per hour, just shy of Category 4 intensity, before making landfall in Texas, stalling, and then moving out again over the Gulf by the looks of things by Tuesday, which would be a disaster, with rainfall amounts of over 20 inches likely. Let's go back to the latest visible imagery from GOES 16. This is updated every minute, so you are amongst the chosen few who get to see the imagery before pretty much anyone else. And there it is, and you can see that flare-up continuing across the southern side and possibly intensifying there as well. Got a question. I live in Houston, Texas. Should I leave now?
If you have the chance to leave, yes. If
I
you
think
don't,
you need to evaluate what the conditions are around you. For Houston, I don't believe wind is going to be a huge issue. Tropical storm force winds are likely, however, so you've got to make sure everything's secure and everything's sufficiently prepared for a tropical storm, which most people can ride out. But it's the flooding. If you're in a flood-prone area or a place that, well, let's say anywhere that flooded during Allison, it's going to flood again, because we're looking at almost Allison and possibly even exceeding in some places, particularly near the landfall area, Allison proportions, if anyone remembers that storm of 16 years ago.
Just looking at the last few frames of Harvey, the eastern side is now starting to get its bulking of share of convection. The eye is becoming more and more clear. It's actually maybe actually stayed a little bit the same, but I'm starting to see more of the bottom of the eye, so it's starting to clear a bit out in the smaller sections. But once this wraps around its strong convection, which shouldn't really be that long, the eye really, you'd expect the eye to end up clearing out eventually, which we'd hope it doesn't. We hope it chokes itself and then starts to weaken. But in this case, Harvey doesn't care what's in its way. It's going to hit whatever's there. If you get in Harvey's way, it will hit you, regardless of it. Looking at Harvey, wow, it's just staggering. To show last night, in fact, this thing was barely even a tropical depression, maybe very close to tropical storm at this point last night.
Let's get down to the bottom of this. How fast did it intensify here? We're calling it 90 right now. That's yet to be confirmed. Even if we use the 85 figure, it was... When was it? I'm rubbish at figuring out dates and thoughts. And it was 35 miles an hour the last time we went live. I can't remember when that was.
Yes. That was yesterday.
Was it?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So, 50 mile an hour increase in a day.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. And I mean pretty significant.
In the meantime, we just need to mention this once every hour at least. We've got to bring in the update on Tropical Storm Pakar, which has formed in the Western Pacific just now, in the last hour or so. It's just off the coast of the Philippines. I expect they've put out warnings there already, but as you can see over the Luzon area, you can see significant rainfall over the area, or certainly cloud cover, and landfall in the Philippines expected within 24 hours. We'll of course keep you up to date on that as well. A question, do you think 92L will go into the Gulf, and is there any other coming off Africa?
Well, there is a few tropical waves, and just to let you know, 92L is in the Gulf. According to NHC, it is anyway. There is a few tropical waves coming off of Africa. Some models are saying that some of the tropical waves that are going to come off of Africa are to try and become hurricanes, but they're far too far out. Let's say, to be honest, I'm going to wait and see what they do. The tropical wave that was off on the coast, or coming off the coast of Africa yesterday, that was looking rather strong, has completely given up and lost the plot. Saharan air isn't really that strong, but as the further you get into the Caribbean, the higher you get. But honest, anything's possible if a tropical wave can just catch the sweet spot where there's no Saharan air, and it's, you know, you might never know, something might actually come out of it. But no, invest as of yet. But I'm going to monitor the tropical wave that is at 30 degrees west, 10 degrees north. So that one might try and do something, but I doubt it because of the Saharan air there. But, you know, stranger things have happened.
Anyone else in the room right now would like to say anything? Go ahead. Okay.
Oh.
I guess not.
I guess not. Then.
Everyone's a bit shy. Well, again, yes. If you've got any questions for our stream, go right ahead. We're one of the most proactive out there in answering your questions. In fact, I think we might have some views of 92L if we're lucky, just in case anyone wants to see that now. I'm trying to get that up for you in just a moment. First of all, I believe we have radar of the Florida area. That's what it looks like right now. You can see significant rainfall occurring along the western coast. There were flood watches, I think, or flash flood watches over there yesterday in the Naples area and beyond. So as you can see, significant rainfall occurring there. We'll also get you some satellite imagery of that shortly. But in the meantime, this is where we are right now with Harvey, and an update from the National Hurricane Center expected to come up pretty soon. There is the satellite imagery of 92L, as you can see, very disorganized along the coast of Florida, and it's just being a nuisance basically.
That's pretty much all it's going to be. Well, all it's being for the time being, it is just being a general nuisance, just delivering high amounts of rainfall and some pretty violent, well, some pretty, maybe not violent, but some pretty strong thunderstorms over Florida right now. As that's why the NHC have said, if you know there is the chance of flooding, that
who keeps dropping things.
Whoever it is does have butter fingers. You're not supposed to put butter on your fingers.
Just by the way, I've got to read out just in relation to Florida, just briefly. Flood watches for large parts of Florida. Coastal Broward, coastal Collier, coastal Miami-Dade, coastal Palm Beach, far south Miami-Dade, Hendry, inland Broward, inland Collier, inland Miami-Dade, inland Palm Beach, mainland Monroe, metro Broward, metro Miami-Dade, and metro Palm Beach. Pretty much all those areas in the south of Florida under a flood watch, all to do with Invest 92L.
Just a question coming in here, Nathan, in the comments. Robot the Robot I'll try that again. FSA says, 413, do you think a hurricane will make landfall on Florida this year?
Yeah, well, I think, I mean, we could take a look at the at what we initially predicted at the start of the year and how well that's verifying. I believe if I was right in saying we had the eastern coast most at risk.
So the east coast of Florida is at the highest risk. Pretty much. So that's pretty much near enough the usual for a Atlantic hurricane season.
Yeah, I guess it is. I mean, it's not often a storm hits the western coast of Florida, although quite a few get towards the Panhandle.
Yeah, the odd few.
Not so very odd. I mean.
Yeah. Let's just draw a veil over that. Yeah, looking at the last few images of Harvey, that eye is trying to become more and more clear.
We will continue to show you the up-to-the-minute imagery, literally up-to-the-minute imagery on Harvey as soon as we get the next frame. Here it is. So this is what it's doing. But Craig, you know, the flare-up still hasn't reached the northeastern side yet, which is really what we're looking for. However, the eye does appear to continuing to deepen.
Yes, I reckon once it completes its deepening for now, and that eye is getting wider, so that might be one of the reasons the convection is basically holding off for now and then, what just allowing it. Basically, Gert's trying to buy itself some time. Just
Harvey.
Gert, Harvey. God's sake, Gert's dead, man.
Damn it, Craig.
Come on.
Well, it doesn't have an established eye wall. There's a big hole in it on the northern side, and it's continuing to move around the storm. You can see it on the imagery there, that little gap in the northern side now moving off towards the western side as it revolves around the eye. That gap needs to be filled if it's going to get towards Category 3 status.
Well, if there was microwave imagery from Archer, hint, come on, update, give us some microwave imagery, it would be nice, because the last time there was microwave imagery, it was from, get this, 1228 UTC.
Not good.
And there hasn't been an image since. And that was when, before it was actually designated as a hurricane.
Well, maybe they've broken down.
Oh, God, that's the last thing I want to hear. That's a good source of microwave imagery. Good grief.
I'll try and get up another source of infrared imagery over the course of the last 7 hours or so from NOAA's floaters, and just to show you what sort of thing we're looking at right now. Let's see if we've got that up on the screen here. There it is. And here you can see quite nicely its relation to land. And again, you can see the northern side not looking great, but the eye deepening, and it's sort of that new flare-up that's been going on in the last hour is now the starting of a new eye wall, a second eye wall.
Oh, as I said, if I did have that microwave imagery, it would be nice. No, we wouldn't. I guess we won't now because we don't have microwave imagery, so we can't tell.
But we will have radar very soon when it comes into view.
Once it does. That's still a few hours away yet, I'd imagine.
Let's see if we can get the latest radar from Brownsville.
Try and get those GR level 3 out.
See if we can get that.
Once it's going to open.
Here's the latest from the National Weather Service's website, showing what appears to be the eye, Craig.
Come on, go GR level 3, come on, speed up.
The first half of the eye starting to appear.
It wouldn't surprise me by this point that the first part of Harvey's eye wall is starting to show on the radar. Because, you'd expect it to start doing so. But looking at that right now, looking at on screen share that I've got going right now, you can see the last few frames that convection is starting to continue to surge round the eastern side. Because you can see there in the last frame at the northern side there, when the last frame comes round, when it does, you see there how the convection just joins up to the other side really quickly. That's basically allowing the other convection now to just come round and wrap around the eye wall and around the eye itself. So you can see there a few images before that convection got round. You can see here this eastern side here, it was actually starting to rise up so that it can allow this area of thunderstorms to start blowing up and helping the eye wall out a lot more. Harvey is an odd storm, but it is an odd of a storm, so to speak. But here's rather. And what are you doing, GR level 3? You're supposed to close that warning window down. Right, okay. Because I had to close this due to technical issues because it decided to.
Technology can be temperamental like that.
Yes, sadly. But then again, it's no happy medium with it, so you can't win. So here's the eye wall of Harvey. Pretty low quality because it's pretty much right off there.
Just one here. If Harvey moves back into the Gulf after landfall, do you think it will become a tropical storm for Louisiana, as one of the models suggests?
Well, that remains to be seen. I don't really want to come to conclusions just yet, but there is a chance that it might. But there's a very hot. It's basically 50-50. It might, but there's that other chance that that might not. But if it does manage to get off, then there's that chance, and it might get given a third chance at life as a tropical cyclone. But for now, I think that it's about a 50-50 chance. It's got a good chance of not happening, but it's got a good chance of it.
Well, that southwestern eye wall's looking pretty good now.
Yeah, that eye wall during the time of it going through a little development phase. I would call it a mainline development phase because normally when you have an eye wall or an eye is trying to clear out, cloud tops do tend to warm, so they can allow the eye to dry out and then get rid of the convection that's in it to basically to vanish in a
Craig,
way.
I'm just looking at the motion in the last hour, and it is west-northwest.
Yes, it is looking like a westward trend, which is what the National Hurricane Center were saying.
Not really.
No, that's north-northwest.
Yeah, west-northwest means it's tracking directly towards... well, if it kept going the exact same way it's gone in the last hour, it's going to end up in Mexico.
Yeah, quite literally. So that means it could be a pretty poor forecast from the NHC. But then again, all can change.
Yeah, that is just 1 hour there.
Yeah, so... Because we've seen that with Cyclone Debbie. It looked like it was going to do a full loop, but it
well, Debbie was one of the most remarkable 8 hours of coverage that we did.
Yes.
In the big guessing game that it was, and that was crazy.
But Harvey's pretty much trying to pull that, but it's not near land, and it's not impending on landfall.
Yeah, not yet.
Yet. But looking at the last few images, the eye looks to be clearing out even more. I'm starting to see what could be the bottom of the eye. Harvey's starting to look good, really good again. So it's going to be very interesting to see what he can do.
That's the voice of Isaac in Corpus Christi, Texas. How's it going?
Right now we're in a process of evacuating. I'm just eating really quickly before we go. We're going to be heading in. We're going to be heading in to Cuero, Texas.
To where?
So, Cuero, Texas. Cureo, Texas.
How far inland is that?
Pretty far. It's near Austin.
Okay.
So, near Austin, San Antonio. So I'm going to be heading in there, and we're trying to hurry up, obviously, because the storm will be here. We'll start getting effects from it at around 8 p.m. The worst effects, obviously, though. And
more
we're
questions
just
coming in.
packing up everything.
I just want to read out. Could Harvey be a Category 2 by the next National Hurricane Center update, which is expected in a matter of minutes? I don't think so.
Possibly, but depending on recon...
I'd be surprised. The recon haven't got any lower pressures. They'll either keep it at 85, or they might go with us and up it to 90.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's pretty unlikely seeing Harvey as a Category 2 in the next advisory. Maybe in the next 6 hours, we could possibly see Harvey as Category 2.
As we enter the evening, indeed.
Exactly. But right now, I think it's not going to happen right now. But yes, as you said, Nathan.
Things have happened.
Yeah, just right now.
Who's that?
It will be a surprise if Harvey gets a Category 2 status in that advisory. That is going to be out in about 20 minutes approximately.
Yeah, sometimes early. We'll let you know as soon as it happens.
Well, there's no update as of yet, so...
Indeed.
Because we are still on Advisory 17. As of 1 p.m. Central Daylight Time when that was issued.
Do you think at this point that its intensification stage has stopped?
No.
Hard to tell.
Because
really
there is no evidence of it intensifying anymore.
Oh, well, looking at the last few images, there's strong bursts, so...
Images, sure, but the reconnaissance aircraft isn't getting anything new just yet.
What we can't tell with that is that due to the fact that, it does, on Tropical Tidbits, as you know, it does measurement estimates.
Breaking news, Craig, we've got the update. The hurricane warning has been extended northeast of Matagorda to Sargent, Texas. This is breaking news. The storm intensity is now 85 miles an hour still, according to the National Hurricane Center, with a pressure of 976 millibars, and they now expect that the storm will still reach 125 miles per hour and weaken to 120 miles an hour before landfall.
That's going to be very touch and go.
And now they also say it will re-emerge into the Gulf of Mexico as a tropical storm. Breaking news, we'll have the graphic for you in a few minutes whenever they put it out.
Awakening before landfall, that's really going to be touch and go. Or as the phrase goes, by that time it's probably going to be squeaky bum time when that happens. But
and we've got
Yes.
breaking news out of Houston. The school has been cancelled for Monday.
So
looking at that last few images of Go 16, that eye is getting tighter.
right.
Sorry, I had to put it there.
So we'll certainly talk about that more, and you can obviously hear Isaac in the background, a little bit of clunking and things as he prepares for evacuation from Corpus Christi. And of course, we'll keep you on top of everything that goes on in the next few hours as the storm continues towards the northwest and looks to be intensifying. We will be here for some time tonight. I believe we can be here for another 4 hours or so. Let's get more latest imagery from Go 16. That is...
Also,
looking at the
there's
last few
another
images of
question.
Before that, Marcel, hello? Okay, Marcel's gone again. Cesar.
Yes, there's another question that just came out in Baseball Games Live. It says that he lives in Rockport, Texas, and he wants to know if should he leave the place, or because it says that they are literally in the eye path of the hurricane. So
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's not good.
I think you should leave the place as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Or if you can't, for another reason or whatever, prepare all the stuff you want and all the precautions for the hurricane. I mean, canned food,
Bottles of water,
a radio with batteries, and I don't know how it's called that thing in English.
Just to reiterate, I just need to reiterate that breaking news that we had. The hurricane warning has been extended. A hurricane warning is now in effect for Port Mansfield to Sargent, Texas.
Oh no.
Wind speed
yes.
85
And
miles an
Atlanta.
hour. Pressure is 976 millibars, according to the National Hurricane Center at their 4 p.m. Central Daylight Time update. 5 p.m. on the East Coast coming up in 10 minutes.
And Nathan, as the picture continues to deteriorate, I've just started a post that northbound Interstate 37 from Corpus Christi to San Antonio has now got a emergency lane activated.
Yep.
A special lane has been opened for northbound traffic.
As soon
Also,
as
I heard that we're under evacuation too over here for people on Corpus.
Oh my. As soon as the National Hurricane Center update their graphic, we will put it up on the stream here.
Oh.
Some people suggesting it might be moving further south in the forecast, but I'm not sure about that. What they do say is that it will re-emerge as a tropical storm. That is what they are saying. It will maintain tropical storm intensity until it moves out. So that would suggest to me that it won't move as far inland as what they were first thinking.
So that theoretically means whatever pushes it back out, which must be a ridge if you push it back out, must be moving either as stronger than what they thought it would be, or moving quicker than what they thought it first was. but I'm sure National Hurricane Center will have a perfectly good explanation as to why they've done that with their forecast.
It's just all about the timing of the storm and its prevailing conditions around it, isn't it?
Yeah, and looking at the last few images, it looks like there is finally, well, for Harvey's sake anyway, there is a burst of convection trying to start over the northern edge of Harvey right now. So we're going to wait and see what happens with that until, obviously, National Hurricane Center updates their warning and advisory graphic. Because that's going to be interesting, because if they are saying it's supposed to re-emerge as a tropical storm by that point, well, it's going to be pretty interesting to see. Because I'd imagine it must not be a very strong tropical storm by the time it emerges. It must be around, say, 40
miles an hour, that's right.
Yeah, so it's going to be touch and go whether it does weaken before landfall, because it's only what the NHC think it will do. And this is Harvey, because Harvey's a totally different animal. Harvey will do what he wants to do, not what the NHC will want him to do. So we're going to wait and see what Harvey decides to do, whether it will be continue his current trend, which is intensifying his, from what we can see going by the latest GO 16 imagery, or do what the NHC think that it could end up doing, becoming Category 3, weaken a little bit before landfall, and then make landfall as a relatively strong Category 3 hurricane. Who's to, well, let alone, let's not say 125 miles an hour, not similar. They will still do damage of Category 3 intensity, which basically is ripping roofs clean off of buildings. Good grief. Smashing a lot of things. Windows in general, blowing doors in.
All right, hey, the graphic has just changed. Take a look at this if you can. This is worrying, and that is taking it further south there. Look at that. It's moved west-northwest this last hour, let's not forget. But now, as you can see, National Hurricane Center more confident of an eastward movement in the last 2 days of the forecast, day 4 and 5, into Monday, Tuesday, I think it is. Yes.
That would be Tuesday if that's the forecast point. So it's going to be touch and go.
David, your thoughts?
You got my screen share?
Might do in a moment. Hold on a minute.
Well, it's going to adopt the. I still reckon it's going to head towards Louisiana. I do not believe that it's going to do that left curve like some of the models.
Looking more unlikely now. I think we're only down to outliers as to moving west now.
And I'm also thinking about what's going on upstairs. I think there's a upper level ridge. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that is breaking down, and it's going to adopt that easterly or even northeasterly direction. This is some information I've just cited. It's being put out by the Weather Centre HQ. Voluntary evacuations, Corpus Christi, Victoria County, Refugio County, the Easters, Jackson, Galveston. Isaac, you can do it, mate. You've got the screen shared there. So.
Corpus Christi. Voluntary evacuations in effect for Corpus Christi, Texas. Also for Victoria County, Texas. Refugio County, Texas. Nueces County, Texas. Jackson County, Texas. Galveston, Texas. West End. South Padre Island, Texas. And mandatory evacuations in effect for the following: Calhoun County, Texas. Aransas Pass, Texas. Port Aransas, Texas. Matagorda County, Texas. San Patricio County, Texas. Rockport, Texas. Portland, Texas. Ingleside, Texas. Brazoria County, Texas. Sargent, Texas. And Palisos County, Texas. Palisos, Texas.
I take I take it, yeah, when nightfall over Harvey, Go 16 has that little enhancement where it can switch from daylight imagery to nighttime. Because looking at the last image, it looks like obviously night's starting to fall because it is pitch black here, so nighttime might not be far away from Harvey.
Not quite, not very well yet.
Actually, well, that's me speaking it right. So yeah, because you're really
Another
pushing
4
your
hours.
seasons. You're pushing your seasons. Yeah. Yeah, that might be what I'm seeing could be the enhancement. But looking at that latest imagery of Harvey, he's starting to look really good again. It just begs to wonder what will his peak be. And Major Hurricane definitely still not out of the question because he's in a way still continuing to improve. And still continuing to all right, Isaac. Continuing to improve and continue to amaze, and just the way it looks and the way it's acting, going from basically a weak tropical storm, maybe moderate strength, to pretty much to basically full blown hurricane within basically within hours, pretty much.
Yep.
It's so impressive in how it goes.
Look at the latest graphic, everyone, and you can see what the hurricane warnings are, the places to not be right now. Isaac, one of our team members, is evacuating. I think it's the first time we've ever had any one of our team evacuating live on air. But that is the case right now, and our other member, Hank, in Austin, I believe is accommodating some other evacuees as well over in Texas. And obviously Austin could also get tropical storm conditions, as could Houston. More than half chance for both of them, according to the National Hurricane Center. We'll have more information on Harvey after the start of the next hour. This is Force 13 Live with myself, Nathan Foy, and the Skype team. And we'll be with you for a few more hours yet, we expect, with the latest on Harvey as it continues towards Texas. We'll take your questions and more after this. Coverage continues in a moment.